Please join me in prayer. Gracious God, as we come to you this morning, we pray that the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts might be acceptable in your sight, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. I have a question for you this morning. Why didn't Martin Luther King Jr. need an advertising campaign to attract the public to him? Or how about Mahatma Gandhi or Mother Teresa? Their stories went viral even before the word viral was coined as a description of the phenomenon. How hard do you think it would have been for any of these three to build a Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn following? Each of them embodied something special, something that no marketing blitz, YouTube trailer, or big advertising budget could have accomplished for them. These three didn't advertise, they inspired. Their lives, actions, and words drew people to them, not because they were selling something that was really cool, but because they stood for something. If you look at all of the great brands out there, you will discover that they don't sell things either. They stand for something, and it is a phenomenal difference. When your motive is to sell, you put yourself in the position of having to convince others to buy, and this usually involves some sort of manipulation, be it the manipulation of price, product, positioning, or marketing message. Conversely, brands that inspire draw us to them because of what the brand stands for and how they do business. Let's take a look at some familiar brands that inspire. The Red Cross is a universally recognized brand that stands for helping, care, medicine, saving lives. The Apple brand stands for quality, innovation, and design. Google, with its creative edge, stands for information power. Google makes an immense amount of the accumulative information and knowledge of humankind accessible and useful to populations across the globe. None of these brands need to create gimmicky commercials or reinvent their marketing message to draw the buying public to them. Instead of manipulating, they inspire. And it is paid off in spades. Each of these brands has pulled in huge sums of money and managed to remain relevant across all age demographics year after year after year. This is because inspiration never goes out of style. It's always trendy. Those that manipulate try to prod or pull us to them. Their effort to convince takes all kinds of forms. Everything from promising that you'll get the hot girl, to offering good deals, to using time-sensitive promotions, to peddling sexual attraction and promise. This last one is my favorite. The list goes on. Manipulation creates a buzz, but the buzz never lasts. Buzz has been called the one-hit wonder of the marketing world because eventually another buzz comes along to steal the stage. When it does, one brand's 15 minutes of fame is over. Do you remember any old toy fads? Toys where the buzz has faded? Toys like Troll Dolls, Cabbage Patch Kids, Tickle Me Elmo, and Paws. How many of us got caught up in the Beanie Baby craze? I want to show of hands. At the height of that craze in the mid-1900s, Peanut, the royal blue elephant, sold at auction for over $3,000. Beanie Babies are now back to selling $5 a piece. Even Peanut, the light blue elephant, you can get for $5. Manipulation is a trick. And eventually people grow tired of tricks, which is why brands that choose to build sales through manipulation have to spend so much money on advertising campaigns. They need constantly to change their strategy, change their messaging, innovate their products, conjure up new campaigns. Are you wondering what this has to do with our scripture lesson for this morning? Everything. Paul writes, "Our appeal does not spring from deceit or impure motives or trickery. We speak not to please mortals, but to please God who tests our hearts. We never came with words of flattery or with a pretext for greed, nor did we seek praise for mortals, whether from you or from others." In other words, Paul preaches the gospel of Jesus Christ with integrity, not manipulation. His message was clear and simple: Jesus Christ and Him crucified. As a result, the people of Thessalonica were inspired. Paul was an inspiring preacher because he had an inspiring subject: Jesus. According to Forbes magazine, inspiring people share 3 core behavioral traits. First, they forge their own authentic path. They take the hard, unpaved road that goes against the grain and demands a tremendous show of guts, commitment, and perseverance. Living out of their convictions, they embody courage and fortitude in the face of opposition, criticism, judgment, and even seemingly unbeatable odds. Their lives exude conviction. Both Jesus and the Apostle Paul forged their own authentic paths with courage and conviction. Second, inspiring people are supremely other-focused. They derive an enormous sense of satisfaction and reward from helping others to grow and flourish. Paul describes how he lived among the believers in Thessalonica, saying, "We were gentle among you, like a nurse tenderly caring for her own children. So deeply do we care for you that we are determined to share with you not only the gospel of God, but also our own selves, because you have become very dear to us." Jesus died on the cross so that we might live. Both Jesus and Paul were supremely other-focused. Third, inspiring people are also riveting storytellers. From their personal experiences, longings, failures, triumphs, and history, inspiring people forge a new and unique way of looking at the world. They then share this new inspiring vision in powerful stories that pluck at the heartstrings and stimulate the thinking and emotions of others. Jesus was the best storyteller ever. 13 of the 27 books of the New Testament are ascribed to the Apostle Paul. He too was a great storyteller. The stories of Jesus Christ and the Apostle Paul, proclaimed with inspiration, have stood the test of time, such that today it is in Jesus' name that desperate people pray, that grateful people worship, and angry people swear. From christenings to weddings to sick rooms to funerals, it is in Jesus' name that people are hatched, matched, patched, and dispatched. That's not my words. Those were John Herbert's, and he also is a great storyteller. From the dark ages to post-modernity, Jesus is the man who won't go away. Jesus has had an unprecedented and unparalleled impact on the world. As Yale historian Pelican writes, regardless of what anyone may personally think or believe about him, Jesus of Nazareth has been the dominant figure in the history of Western culture for almost 20 centuries. If it were possible, with some sort of magic magnet, to pull up out of the history every scrap of metal bearing at least a trace of his name, how much would be left? Pelican goes on. We live in a world where Jesus' impact is immense, even if his name goes unmentioned. In some ways, our biggest challenge engaging his influence is that we take for granted the ways in which our world has been shaped by him. The problem with this tendency of ours to minimize Jesus' impact is that over time, Jesus gets domesticated. He becomes part of our world instead of our being part of his world. Jonathan Merritt, a young faith and culture writer, tells the story of trying to reconcile the Jesus he was encountering in the New Testament with the Jesus he and so many Americans claim to be following. In the Bible, he kept meeting a Jesus who was radical and revolutionary. But most of the Christians he knew worshiped a more domesticated Savior. Their Jesus hated the same people they hated, voted like they voted, and made very few difficult demands. After confessing to an old schoolmate concerning his uneasiness with these two different and conflicting images of Jesus, John Merritt's thoughtful friend suggested that he purchase a copy of Faust by Jonathan Wolfgang von Goethe and let the story read him. Merritt did just that. The plot of the play revolves around a scholar and sorcerer named Dr. Faust, who exchanges his soul for human knowledge. In the opening scene, the character Wagner claims he possesses great knowledge, but desires to know everything. Faust's response catches Merritt, the young man reading this, off guard. Faust responds, "That which you have received as heritage, now rediscover for yourself, and thus you will make it your own." Merritt stopped reading. He gave those words time to settle in. Then he read them again. "That which you have received as heritage, now rediscover for yourself, and thus you will make it your own." He then took a pencil and a paper and he wrote the words down and he tucked them in his wallet. The words felt like a signpost pointing him forward in his spiritual journey. As a follower of Jesus, he now understood that he needed to not just cherish the faith of his parents and his grandparents, he also needed to take hold of that faith for himself. sometime later, sitting by a campfire, as the flames flickered and illuminated the sky, John Merritt asked God to make himself real to him, and God did. An insatiable desire to read the Bible welled up from his innermost parts. John began to devour the Scriptures. Old passages took on new life. He began to experience Jesus close up and personal. He spent more time serving others, praying with others, and started a Bible study for young Christians. The faith of his parents was now his. He had rediscovered Jesus. Every generation must rediscover Jesus for themselves. See him with their own eyes and learn to follow him in their own way. Even though Jesus remains the same. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Our Savior has multiple personas: Father, friend, shepherd. Still, Jesus is unchanging. But paradoxically, Jesus must also be reborn, come alive, afresh for each generation. Albert Schweitzer put it this way: each successive epoch found its own thoughts in Jesus, which was indeed the only way it could make him live. First century Christians in Israel wrestled with Jesus, the Jewish rabbi and Messiah. Second century Roman Christians preached Jesus as King of Kings, who, unlike Caesar, was Lord of all. In the 8th and 9th centuries, Christians' embrace of Jesus as the true image of God led to the spawning of new art forms, architecture, and religious icons. In the Middle Ages, Christians wrestled with Jesus as the crucified God. During the Protestant Reformation, Christians uncovered the Jesus who justifies with sacrificial grace. Christians of the Enlightenment embraced Jesus, the God of reason. During our civil rights movement, Jesus, the liberator, came into focus. When I rediscovered Jesus, it was the early 1970s. My generation of hippies and war protesters were wrestling with the Jesus featured in the cover story of the June 21, 1971 issue of Time magazine. The established church was concerned about the Jesus movement and its unnuanced understanding of Jesus. George Peters, senior pastor here at Burlingame, before Thomas W. Gillespie, before Paul Watermotor, was actually quoted 5 years after leaving this church in this Time magazine article, saying of the Jesus movement, I see dangers. This biblical literalism. The kids quote verses without understanding them to prove a point. I thought we'd outgrown that. I'd like to see some kind of form. When I originally came to this church, George Peters was in this pulpit. When I joined the confirmation class, George had just left. Robbie McFarland, one of the associates pastors, served then as our interim pastor. I remember taking a test during that confirmation class. The test was to supposedly assess our Christian beliefs. When we scored the test, I remember thinking, whoa, this is weird. The less you believe, the higher you score. That was because for the members of that class, including the youth pastor, Larry Irons, the label liberal was preferred over conservative. 6 years later, the Jesus that I was wrestling with was neither liberal nor conservative. He was better described by the Wanted poster, quoted in that Time magazine cover story. Wanted, Jesus Christ, alias the Messiah, the Son of God, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Prince of Peace, notorious leader of an underground liberation movement, wanted for the following charges: practicing medicine, winemaking, and food distribution without a license, interfering with businessmen in the temple, associating with known criminals, radicals, subversive, prostitutes, and street people, claiming to have the authority to make people into God's children. His appearance? Typical hippie type. Long hair, beard, robe, sandals. Hangs around slum areas, few rich friends, often sneaks out into the desert. Beware! This man is extremely dangerous. His insidiously inflammatory message is particularly dangerous to young people who haven't been taught to ignore him yet. He changes people and claims to set them free. Warning, he is still at large. Theologian Marty of the University of Chicago Divinity School suggested in that very same Time magazine article that the Jesus people could become frustrated by a complex society that would not yield to their single-minded devotion, and that as a result, they may disband in disarray. But Marty went on to say more positively, 5 years from now, you may have some bitter Presbyterians because of their participation in the Jesus movement. Something about Jesus keeps prodding people in every generation to do what they would rather not do. Francis Assisi gives up his possessions. Augustine gives up his mistress. John Newton gives up his slave trade. And Father Damien gives up his health. The Jesus of the Jesus movement of the 1960s and 70s transformed the lives of a generation of idealistic American youth who protested war and created the very first Earth Day while engaging in free love and psychedelic drugs. The marriage of this hippie counterculture with evangelical Christianity still lives on in some amazing ways in initiatives in the established church. Like homeless soldiers. I think we call it IHF. Food pantries. I think we call it all primrose. Short-term mission trips. Mexico, Honduras, Guatemala, Cameroon. And it lives on in contemporary worship services, complete with guitars, amps, and holy jeans. The Jesus people generation gave up protesting and started creating in the name of Jesus. I'm going to warn you this morning that a new revolution is coming. And it is being led by a new generation. The first generation to grow up in the world of technology. Jesus, for this millennial generation, will be different, but also the same. Because Jesus, the Alpha and the Omega, is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. For this generation, our old new Jesus is being and will be rediscovered in the same way Jesus has been rediscovered over and over and over again by generation after generation. How is that? In the inspired reading of the Gospels, the life of Jesus Christ, and the rest of the New Testament. Jesus will be found there, shining light on the world as these millennials come to the text with new questions, their questions. Millennials, as I have said, are the first generation to have been born and come of age in the world of technology created by us boomers. Who knows how globalization, community service, and selfies will be transformed and redefined in the years to come as millennials wrestle with Jesus. Who could have guessed that drugs, sex, and rock and roll would be transformed and redefined as spirit, grace, and worship? To cooperate with what God is and will be working in and through this wonderful younger generation, we would all do well to focus on Jesus. If you happen to be in the millennial generation, let me challenge you to pick up a gospel. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and start reading. You have been told about this Jesus who lives in those pages. Perhaps it is time you encounter him for yourself. If you are a parent, a grandparent, or another adult who loves one of these magnificent young people, see if you can get one of them to read the gospel with you. And then don't teach. Listen. Listen to them tell you about the Jesus they are encountering in the Scripture. And as you read it together, pray that Jesus will encounter them and inspire faith in them as Jesus has inspired faith in you. As the wandered poster from Time magazine said, you do this, watch out. Warning, he is still at large, alive, and well.